Alright guys, today we're going to talk about interest. And not the interest like, hey, do you have any interest in going to the movies with me? But interest in mathematical terms. And there are two types of interest. Simple interest and compound interest. Today we're going to look at simple interest, and then next week we'll talk about compound interest. So the first question is, what is interest? Well, interest is the money that you pay to somebody for the right to borrow money from them. Credit cards, loan applications, mortgages on your house. You want to borrow $1,000, well, I'm going to have to pay some interest. So maybe my payment read back to them is $1,100, depending on what's called the interest rate. So we're going to talk about how to calculate interest and do some problems and show you guys how that works. A lot of real life applications to interest. And when we get an opportunity to talk about them, we'll talk about all those different opportunities. Let's start with some vocabulary though. So we have interest. Again, as I said, it's the money you pay to borrow money or use credit. The interest rate determines in part the cost of a loan or of a purchase on a credit card. A lot of times your interest rate has to, is related to your credit. And what is the rate at which they believe you're going to pay them back? And if you have really good credit and good standing, you can get a lower interest rate. If you have bad credit, you're in bad standing, you don't always pay your bills on time, you end up with a worse interest rate, and you end up paying more money to borrow money. The second word on here is simple interest. And that is the interest that is paid at the end of the term and based only on the principal. So let's get into the different parts of the formula. So the formula to find simple interest, really easy. I equals PRT. And we're going to talk about what each of those letters mean. Guys, make sure you guys are writing this in your notebook. You're writing it down. I equals PRT. At any point, if you guys need to pause the video to have an opportunity to finish writing something down, please do. Pause it, restart it. So the I is the interest, the amount charged for borrowing money. Typically, that's the thing we're going to be trying to find. They're usually going to give us the P, the I, and the T, and we need to multiply them to find the I. Anytime your variables are next to each other like this is multiplication. P times I times T equals our I. Remember, we're writing this down in our notebook. Interest, the amount charged for borrowing the money. P, the principal, the original amount of money that you borrowed. So let's say you borrowed $100, right? That would be your principal. A is the interest rate. That's the rate that the bank or the credit card company is charging you to borrow their money, right? That's the rate at which you're being charged. And then T is time, the amount of time on the loan. Now, when we do our multiplication, our A will always be in decimal form. So if they say, hey, the interest rate is 7%, we've got to convert that 7% to decimal right before we put it into our formula. So 7% as a decimal is 0.07. So you can always work back to your notebook on how to convert decimals, percents into decimals using Dr. Pepper. And then the fourth, time, T, time, the amount of time. And that amount of time is always in years. So if they say 4 years, we'd use 4 as our T. If they say 8 months, we would have to convert that to a fraction on how many years is 8 months. Well, there's 12 months in a year, so we go 8 over 12 equals 2/3, right? So we'd go 2/3, and we'd have to convert that or put that into your calculator as 2/3, or you could convert it to a decimal. All right. So make sure your interest rate is in the form of a decimal, and make sure that our time, right, in our formula represents the amount of years, not months. All right. Let's look at a problem. All right. So it says William opens a savings account with initial balance of $100. He earns a simple interest rate of 5%. how much money does William have in his account after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Alright, so in this situation, I mean, we all have savings accounts. We put money in our savings account. And interest rates at savings account, not typically pretty high. It's a pretty safe investment. You're not going to see yourself earning a lot of money back. So let's go ahead and set up the formula. So it's going to be I equals PRT. So P is our principal, right? The amount of money that our initial balance. So our principal here is 100. So let's write this down. Our P is 100. He earns a simple interest rate of 5%. So our R, our rate, is 5%. Let's convert that to decimal, 0.05. And our time, how much money does William have in his account after 3 years? So time is 3 years. We also would do it for 5 and then for 10 also. So my interest equals my principal, 100, times my rate, 0.05, times my amount of time, 3. So my interest, 100 times 0.05 is 5, times 3. My interest is going to be $15. So after 3 years, how much money is William having in his account? Well, if he's earned $15, he doesn't have $15 in his account. He has $15 in his account plus the original amount of money that he started with. So how much money would he have in his account? He would have $115. Now, if we want to know how much he had for 5 years, we would change out the 3 with a 5, and we would change out the 10 also with the 3. And that would tell us how much money he had in his bank account over that time. So 5 times 5 would be $25. So after 5 years, he would have $125. After 10 years, he would have $150. So as you can see, if you put $100 in your bank account with a 5% interest, and 10 years later you go take that money out, you're not going to have that very much money more than what you started with, right? $150. All right, let's look at it. So Chris, this guy, right, puts $3,500 into an account for 6 years. The account earns an interest rate of 2.9%. How much money will Chris have in his account at the end of his 6 years? How much more will he have in the account if he keeps it in an additional 3 years? All right, so let's set it up. I equals PRT. Our P is 3,500. P. That's the amount of money that we're starting with. Our rate, 2.9%. We're going to convert that to a decimal. So that's going to be 0.029. And our 6 years. So how much in at 6 years? So our time is 6. So I'm going to input those into my formula. Interest equals 3,500 times 0.029 times 6. Well, I can't do this one in my head, so I would use a calculator. 3,500 times 0.029 equals, this is 101.5 times 6 would be, let me do this fast here, $609, right? Now, $609, that does not represent how much money he has in his bank account. That's how much interest he's earned, right? So we would have to take that $609 and add it to how much money he began with. So we take 3,500, add $609, and he has $4,109 in his account after 6 years. If he kept it in an additional 3 years, we're just changing this number from 6 to what? 9, right? So then I'm multiplying 9 times 101.5. So we're adding 303, 304.50, 304. So we have 4, 4, 1, 3. So how much would he have in his account? 4,413. All right, guys. Again, real simple stuff. Make sure you write the formula down. list all the aspects of the formula. What are the values that need to go in? Make sure we're converting the interest rate 2%. Make sure you're converting time into years. If they give it to you in months, if they say 36 months, you got to convert that to years. 36 months is 3 years. If they say 60 months, you're getting a car loan for 60 months. You got to make sure that you convert that into years, which is 5 years. All right. Best of luck, guys. I'll be back on Monday. Good luck. You're gonna have some independent practice, and we'll see you then. All right, guys.